Aviation is a very cyclical industry. We've seen it after 9/11, the recession in 2008, and most recently the pandemic. My mission here at Cashflow on the Fly podcast is to arm pilots with all the tools and knowledge they need to achieve financial freedom through real estate. This is your host, Sach Bernhardt, and I hope you enjoy it. Hey, welcome everyone to another episode of Cashflow on the Fly podcast. I'm very excited today. I have Ian in the house. Actually, he's not in the house. He's in his house, but we're here virtually in-house. And I've been wanting to have Ian on the podcast for a while. Finally, we figured out a time to get together and get this going. Ian currently owns a family office, has a lot of experience in business. I like to pick his brain all the time to get more information about how to grow and scale businesses. And last we met up at the the E5, right?
Jake and Gino, Orlando.
Jake and Gino, in Orlando. And so I was asking him a lot of stuff about business because I love your experience and how fast you've been able to grow and go from business to business. So, dude, Ian, welcome to the show. And why don't you start telling us a little bit about the background? How did you go from your first venture to growing those businesses, selling them to the private equity firms, and where you are today?
Sure. I started out on the street as just a pure hustler. No special skill set, just a drive to succeed. I was sitting in my house, kid came and knocked on my door and was like, "Hey, your parents home?" And I'm like, "Nope. What you want?" He's like, "I'm selling trash service." I'm like, "That's cool. My parents aren't home. You got to go. You want a job?" I'm like, "No, I'm good." So I make $1,000 a week. And I was like 16. I was like, "I want a job. Let's go." So I started making just like $1,200 a week selling trash service door to door. Absolutely phenomenal, great money for my young self. And that was my enlightenment to business, was like, holy crap, I get it. When I hustle, like I can make real money. I'm not working for $7 an hour at the Dairy Queen or wherever it is. And it kind of just lit me up. So from there, I became a sales manager the next season, was running a nice little crew. And I figured out what that sales company was making per sale. And I was like, hey, you know what? I can do this myself. So in college, I ended up starting my own sales company. We had about 144 kids up and down the East Coast doing outsourced trash recycling sales from residential, commercial, industrial for some of the larger names from Florida all the way up to Rhode Island. And I realized like, hey, you know what? It's great. I'm making several $100,000 a year in college, but I'm getting a one-time fee. And that's not good enough. I'm looking at these trash companies. They're making a smaller amount of money, but they're making it residually. So it's that reoccurring revenue model that's so valuable in software and everything else. It's that a contract, guaranteed revenue, and it reoccurs consistently. Went and started a trash company, built it up for about 4 months. And a big guy in the market said, hey, Ian, I see what you're doing. I don't want you here. Here's X hundreds of thousands of dollars to go away. And I was 20 at the time. And I was like, cool, sign me up. So
4 months you built that company before
that. And I was like, cool, but it gave me the insights. I thought I was like, do I build it or do I take the money? I'm like, if I take the money, I can go build something bigger, greater infrastructure, take out the money and boom. So I took the money and we built up this, I gave it my 20s and built up this massive trash recycling company. It's one of the top 100 biggest ones in the USA. Then we sold that to a PE firm out of New York. And then we sold another division to Waste Industries, which is now GFL, one of the top 4 companies in the US and Canada.
So the first one you built, you sold to this person or company because they didn't want you to be in that space anymore. But then you went and built an even bigger one. Did you become a competitor again for them?
No, you got to non-compete. So we went like 75 miles east. So we went from Virginia to Maryland.
Okay.
So not very far, like you can drive it. But it was great. But I got my core business knowledge there. I built up hundreds and hundreds of employees, and it was building that system and then managing all the KPIs off of it. When we sold the final one, I stayed in the space, helped them with the rep and the roll-up of buying a couple more and selling it off. And I've been an LP in real estate in a wide variety of other asset classes and hedge funds and things like that. So we're making good money in the trash side. And I was like, you know what? I love this real estate thing. Everybody talks about it. And I had a bunch of single family homes at the time. And I was like, I don't want to deal with this headache. Like my next door neighbor had 1,700 single family homes, made $6 million a year. But he had crews coming in every day. They had to go all over the place, supply places. It was like a constant mayhem. I saw the life. I'm like, I don't want to do that. And I was like, the apartment complexes make sense because it's on-site staff. I don't have the headaches. And you get everything at scale. And from trash side, everything got easier. and grew faster with scale. So I was like, I have to jump into multifamily. So I went to my two favorite sponsors and I said, hey, I'm going to fund your entire deal. You can keep your fees and your promotes, but I'm going to run and do everything. You get a babysit. And they said, okay. It's not a bad deal for them. So I got to learn hands-on, doing everything with my own money. Super beneficial for me because most people can't afford to do that. I also couldn't learn from like a weekend class or like a week class or a seminar, things like that. It's just so much better to be hands-on learning. It's like spending time actually doing the leasing, sitting with the assistant manager, sitting with the property manager. If anybody really wants to do this business, it's literally go take 4 months, spend a month in every single position that you're going to hire for, from porter, HVAC tech, learn how to do everything. Not that you're going to go do it all yourself on a daily basis, but just so you can understand the whole process, understand leasing, understand delinquency. How do we manage delinquency? The property manager side, doing the budgets and everything like that. So they mentioned the CapEx and blah, 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 blah. But actually hands-on doing that is going to give you the best overall knowledge. I'm hiring a new personal assistant coming on in January, and we're shipping her off to Houston for 2 months.
So that she can do that, so that she can learn.
She's going to sit in every position that we hire for about a week and a half. I don't have the time to do a full month with her, but that gives her a core basic understanding, and then she'll be with me every day diving in. So it's a cost to us, but it's well worth it because she'll get a core understanding or basic understanding of everything that we do. So when if I can't be on a call and she hops on a call, she knows what's going on. She gets the competencies. She may not fully get everything, but she'll take the notes, say, hey, this is what happened here. This is a leasing problem. This is a delinquency problem. We couldn't fix this. Delinquency's up for this reasons. And then I can come back in, create my plan on our next call and be like, hey, we're going to go A, B, C, and D.
Cool.
But yeah, so did that. Did my own money. I also liked it better because I wasn't risking anybody else's money at first, just my own. I always feel better then. That's probably one of the biggest things that probably makes us stand out as a sponsor is that against a family office, like we have a nicer net worth, but I love being able to control my own investments. So like we invest heavier in our deals than most people do. Like you see some sponsors invest 100K or 50K into their deals, or some say they invest X. We truly invest at a minimum 10 to 30%. We were talking before the show, there's a $77 million deal we have in Houston. We did 33% of the equity for that. So it's a monster check.
Yeah.
So we're extremely motivated to ensure our deals succeed because we have so much money in these deals ourselves. Like we're not freaking out over 100 grand. I got X millions of dollars in this deal. I'm going to be there because I want that return on my money real quick. That's very quick, like to get done the right way.
Do you have any sort of control rights to if something goes wrong, you can take over the property or step in and start doing things?
So that'll be in a deal. Let's pivot. So there's deals that we sponsor and deals that we sponsor, like we have that control or we share control with one other party. And that will be in the operating diamonds. When we KP and work in the background for some of these larger sponsors or syndicators, we do have provisions that allow us to come and take over. And we've done that this year, actually. So it'll be kind of small. Okay, if occupancy goes below 90%, if delinquency goes above 15%, if you don't cover costs, if you lose money, things like that. We don't instantaneously take over right away, but we leave those guidelines that they're easier to hit. So if we want to take over, we can. The goal for us to come as a KP isn't to take over the deal because that's time and work and energy that I'm not getting paid for. But we do that so in case something does happen, we have the right to come and take over. So our goal is to come in, pivot, fix, and then hand it back off. But yeah, no, it's at the end of the day, in any KP that you have, control is the most important thing by far.
Yeah. Cool. So then you start investing your own money into these deals. And then where did you go from there?
So this moment there, we said, hey, you know what? Let's go ahead and do this by ourselves. But instead of just jamming out by myself, I was like, what can be a safer philosophy for us that can give me what I want to do, but being safe? So we decided to team up with some amazing sponsors and some amazing syndicators and say, hey, you know what? Let's just do this 50-50. We both bring half the earnest money. We both sign the loan. We both raise half the equity. We both co-manage the deal. Like I'm in Florida, I kind of oversee some more stuff we have here. Some of are in Texas. They're in Texas. They do more on the day-to-day there. We define all the roles ahead of time in our operating docs. But it's a great partnership because some of these deals are massive. We're doing a deal right now that's $27 million equity raise. For one person, that's a big number to raise, especially if you don't use institutional capital. It's kind of one of the things that, again, we do differently than most other people is we're not raising that many individual checks. Most of my money comes from institutional sponsors. So like my average check coming to a deal is about 12 million. We have the occasional, we're doing the hotel multifamily conversion right now in Jacksonville, Florida. we had another family office come in. They wrote $1 million check. So we have some of those that do come in, but we're more focused on bringing those larger checks. And it's a great pivot because some of these other guys are great. Hey, you know what? I have these amazing 500 investors and I can raise $10 million in 30 to 45 days, but I max out there. So it's a great fit for me because I can go to one of my institution partners like, hey, we need 12 million bucks. We fit. Now we're at $24 million and I knock out the other 3 myself. So it's been a great fit for us, teaming up with somebody, whether it's local or I'm local, and kind of splitting things 50-50. We do own some stuff ourselves, but I always enjoyed the JV partnership.
Yeah, I gotcha. Dude, is there anything throughout your business career, is your family in business? Were there some qualities or attributes that you already knew you needed to have or develop to become a good business person, or were you literally learning as you went?
I learned as I went, and I've always been the best person at learning the hard way. And I've paid some incredible prices for that. But I think it's also the best way to learn, because when you make that mistake, when you lose that $100,000 of your own money and a deal blows up, or you lose an earnest money deposit because you didn't do due diligence the right way, you made a mistake, you missed something, like that hurts. Like it hurts, and it hurts me, nobody else. But I don't mind. I have never really minded because you learn such a valuable lesson from that in doing so. But I learned most of the core competencies from the trash recycling stuff. A huge company up. Here, multifamily is real simple. It's a repeatable process. We come in, you buy at a great basis, you do a value add, you maintain and hold, and you sell at the correct time. And it's the same thing every time. You may be a little bit of a different value add. You may be evaluating $4K a door versus $27,000 a door for heavier value add, but your core competencies and process are the same. It's just a matter of each of the process have different KPIs, from delinquency to leasing to maintenance to turns to whatever it is, and it's managing all those KPIs of the process. And that's really where the real money is made. And that's what really makes the difference between your cash on cash difference in deals, is when you're actually hitting all your KPIs and you're doing turns in 3 days. So your loss to lease is so much less, or you're turning units for $700 versus $3,000, and your cash on cash is just dramatically more, or your overall money in the budget, because you're not using all your CapEx money, is better. So really managing those KPIs is truly going to make the difference between, you can make a full point on the IRR difference for you.
Yeah, I got you. You have a family office right now. How would you differentiate a family office from a private equity firm that brings capital to deals?
Sure, so very different. Family office is traditionally going to bring anywhere from, let's just call it an average about $5 million a deal. That's usually around $5 million. It's much easier to get the check from us. We usually want some kind of preferred benefit, some kind of side letter saying, hey, we're getting A, B, C, or D for it, but we're also writing a $5 million check. Sometimes we're writing a $10 million check. So with that large check comes a little bit of benefit, versus a institutional sponsor is going to write 90% of your equity stack. So let's take a look at the one in Houston we're doing is $27 million, right? You'd need 4 or 5 family offices to get that done. And you can do that. Or you get one institutional sponsor, like we're talking to one person right now, that's going to come in and bring 25 to $27 million. And I'm going to bring the other 2 to it. But you're going to make less money because they have more rules, right? They're going to have complete control. At the end of the day, if you don't want a job, don't use institutional equity. It's more of a plug and play model, because look here, we have a deal in Houston, right? And my business partner wants to sell. Thinks it's a great time to sell. The money's there. But the institutional equity partner said, no thanks. We'll sell in 2 years. Keep managing. Have fun. See you later. And she's like, I don't get it. It's time to sell. But at the end of the day, I'm like, hey, they have this thing in the counter that says, we have the right to sell or hold whenever we want to.
Wow.
So it's nothing wrong. Like, the deal's going great. We're happy to hold it for another 2 years. But it's just more of, when you have institutional equity, like, it's their ball game. Like, you run the day-to-day, and like, you're really running the asset, making all decisions. But anything bigger, like you want to sell or you want to do some major change, like, you got to ask dad for permission. So a lot of people don't like that. So I don't mind it, because it's more of an institutional plug and play model. It's, hey, you wrote a big check, you want A, B, and C. I'm not running the deal any different. I'm still value adding the same way. It's just a matter of, I don't get to choose when I get to exit. They have a plan, we stick to their plan. It's fine with me.
What's one of the biggest misconceptions that people have about family offices?
Misconceptions. They were all the same. We're not. There's a much, especially in today's generation, I take for myself, it's all my money. It's first generation. There's still a ton of old family office money that does, we invest in A, B, and C. If it's an A, B, and C, we do it. If it doesn't, peace out. But there's so many still young people that have made a ton of money in the stock market. I'm going to say people used to make a lot of money in crypto. There's so many people who have made hundreds of millions of dollars that are still first generation family offices. They're so much more entrepreneurial. So they want to be actively involved, right? Sure, they're going to write you that $5 million check. They might write that $10 million check because they're like, hey, let me be a part of it. I want to learn. I want to be active. So don't look at family offices like, hey, we're all the old school money. It's all third, second generation. We only write $5 million checks. There's a lot of new, younger generation family office money that's out there, and it's easier to obtain and wants to be more active. So it's just a matter of how you target and find them. So then finding family office, one of the easiest way to do that, which most people don't do, is on LinkedIn. Look for the younger first gen guys that have sold a company now run a family office. They're easy to talk to. Like I take way too many phone calls from people. My number is listed everywhere, but like we answer the phone half the time. I'll be in the car, I got nothing else to do for an hour. I might as well answer the phone. Why not? What's going to happen? So
Yeah.
value out of it.
I see you working a lot, man. That's for sure. I think people that take advantage sometimes obviously use it the wrong way, but I do that you're very accessible, right? That you're there for whatever it is, make deals happen, get things working and stuff. When you're choosing to work with a sponsor, what are some non-negotiables? Like what is hard line? I won't do that deal because of X. They have number of exits. I don't know, whatever you think it is.
This is sorry. Let's do it this way. So there's a difference between someone raising money for a deal and like the actual sponsor, right? Because a lot of people raise money for a deal but aren't the main sponsor. So when we're looking at a deal, I'm not necessarily looking at the guy raising the money because he's just putting it into this deal, right? He's not necessarily going to be, he's part of the GP team, but he's not the day-to-day guy running the deal. So my core focus instantaneously is who is the head guy making the day-to-day decisions? And am I a believer in his plan, his history, his background? I'll give an example. I had a lady called me. It was 3 military guys. Thank you for your service. I appreciate everything you guys do. But they were all overseas and none of them were active in the US. And I said, guys, I appreciate your service. I love what you guys do. You have a small track record. But if no one is in the US and something goes wrong, none of you guys can leave. Like, you can't leave a military installation to go fix my property. You're not even theoretically supposed to be doing it. So it's winding that back into, if they have a full-time job, I'm not investing. Like, I'm only investing if you are doing this full-time 100%. I don't care if there's 3 of you guys and you all have full-time jobs and do this part-time. Like, someone needs to be doing this full-time. You don't have to live locally. Like, the deal is in Dallas. You don't have to live in Dallas. But you got to be in the US and you got to be able to go there if something happens. Like here, there's a guy I invested with, lives in Hawaii, right? I've been to the property more times than he has over the last 3 years. And I've been there twice a year. He's been there twice in 3 years. So we have a larger investment in that deal, right? Like we got X million dollars in the deal. So I want to succeed. So I'm there. But like that's part of my thing is like if you live so far away and you're not actively there, like there's a difference. Like one of the reasons we have 3,000 units in Houston is because you have scale and stuff there. So like we're there all the time. I have stuff here in Florida, I have stuff in the Carolinas, but you have to actively be there. You can't just manage from the clouds and manage from afar. Like you have to be there. I think it's going to be full cycle exits. It's great that you have 9 deals, but have you gone full cycle on 1 or 0? Like anybody can go and buy a deal, but like actually taking a full cycle, going through fruition is huge. And it's also a difference between, hey, I've taken 2 20 units full cycle and I'm now doing 3 200 unit deals. It's a totally different deal dynamic. So I don't want to be the first guy to write you a big check into this kind of space. Also, hey, is this your first time doing an A-class asset versus you've only done C-class assets? Again, just being comfortable. Do you truly believe, and some of it's just a vibe, like, do I get you? Are you entrepreneurial, you young guy that's going to be out there hustling day to day? Or are you the big institutional group that has 8,000 staff members? I'm not going to get as high a return, but money's safe because it's professionally managed. So it just truly depends on what everyone's investment philosophy or strategy is. But key things are has to be able to get to the site, has to be in the US, has to be a full-time job, has to have several full-time exits. It's not that much more. The deal metrics have to make sense too, right? You look at Dan Hannaford. I always joke about this. Dan Hannaford has his 7 red flags of sponsors, right? And I laugh because they're actually good red flags, but they're also done in a way that like they benefit him. These are all things that he doesn't do that other people do, if that makes sense. So like they're good red flags, but you can still invest if some of those red flags are there, right?
I see what you mean. Yeah, like they're not cut and dry. If you
They're
have
not
one,
deal breakers. They're
right?
flags, but they're not deal breakers. You're also talking to the guy that invests into land development where you have no idea if the county's going to approve your rezoning permit or not. If they do, I'm making like a 5x in 6 months, or else I'm stuck holding this piece of land for the next 3 years making $0. So we invest in some incredibly high risk things.
Wow. Okay. That's interesting. I very strictly stay away from any new development or land stuff like that because of that reason. There's a lot more risk. Obviously, there's a lot more profit to be made, but I feel I'm in a stage that I just don't want to take a risk like that. But that's awesome to hear. What's your favorite asset class to invest in?
We invest here. I'll give an example of things we're doing right now. We are building multifamily. We're buying currently done multifamily. We are building self-storage, building build to rent. Then we own I own an office building. My favorite thing is just multifamily because it's so straightforward and simple. It is just, here's the process, A, B, and C equals my money. Like it's not hard, it's recession proof. And I'm gonna go with more A-class multifamily versus the other classes because you have less issues when it comes to recession or less risk. Also, you're buying A-class, just traditionally newer. You're not having a lot of surprise bumps. Like here, let's talk about a repipe in a C-class. That's what, $10,000 to $15,000 that you can't see coming. Also, here we had a deal in Daytona Beach. We had to replace 100 extra HVACs than we budgeted for. That's $300,000.
Yeah.
We made a killing on the deal, but these are just things that can happen in older properties. When you buy a newer A-class property, I got an HVAC warranty for 5 years. Like,
Right.
who cares if they blow up? I'm gonna call the guy up and get a new one installed like a week later or 2 days later. My person's not gonna air conditioning for a week, but you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
A-class multifamily and newer A-class multifamily that's in the burbs, not downtown core assets, just because the price point, I don't think you can get an amazing basis there because you're going to compete with too many REITs and BlackRocks of the world downtown. But burbs, A-class, multifamily all day long.
Dude, I love it. Dude, how do you keep track of everything that you do? You obviously have a lot of deals going all the time. You just mentioned you have a lot of new builds going on between storage, multifamily, and you're also doing a lot of value add deals. How do you even know how many deals you got going on?
One, having an amazing, it's literally just, it's not just me. That would be terrifying. I couldn't do it. I'll tell you that in a second. I can't do it. You can't do it by yourself. You have to have an amazing team, and it's hiring the best people. So it's having a personal assistant that runs your clock in your day and keeps you on track. That, like here, say our interview is supposed to be done at 12. At 12:02, she's texting me, hey, your interview's over. You got to be here and here. Or, hey, Ian, I know you don't want to do this, but you need to do it. Like, it's someone writing you, or it's here. At the end of the day, too, it's using something like Asana for your day-to-day KPI tasks and running your assets. Like having an amazing program like Asana is huge. It's just managing the data, and then obviously, like I can have a board or Excel sheet or whatever it is that lists all my properties and programs, and our accounting team does great as well. But at the end of the day, it's when you get to scale, you can't do it by yourself. It's having an absolutely amazing team. Look, I'll give you an example. There's a company called QC Capital out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Chris Lerner, younger CEO, phenomenal guy. But one of the reasons I love is that he knows he can't do it by himself. He is probably overstaffed at the moment, but like he has somebody for everything. He's brought in someone that does acquisitions, someone that does asset management, someone that does underwriting, someone that does investor relations. Like they have that core team. They're overstaffed, so they can now grow and expand dramatically over the next couple of years. So knowing that and building that core infrastructure is just absolutely huge for scale and running your day and understanding what you're doing. Because you can be doing it, but not have an idea of what's going on. Like you could have, say, we have probably 25 or 30 assets, and I don't understand what's going on at 3 or 4. But it's me being able to go, hey, Macy, what's going on here? And hey, Ian, we're at this phase of the development. We're doing this and this. we're on track, or this is the issue that we're having. Do you have any insights? Here, if they need insight, they would probably have already come and asked. But at the same time, it's having someone that knows if I don't. If I can't keep up with it, you have to hire someone that does.
Love it. What would you say is your unique skill set? You think you're a very good leader, communicator, a problem solver, all of the above?
I'm willing to do what other people are unwilling to do. I'm willing to have the unpleasant conversations. I am willing to walk away from a deal. I am willing to go to court. Like when you have a subcontract, we're fighting with a subcontractor right now over a couple $100,000, and most syndicators are terrified. Court's expensive. I know this didn't happen. I'm like, cool. I've been to court 40 times already, like from owning different companies. Let's go. I'm not scared. Like our contract says X. I'm not scared. I'm also willing to buy the asset. Here, you said we bought Admiral Arms in Jacksonville, Florida. It's a C class, C minus class asset, right? Let's be real. Terrible asset in a terrible area. But I thought the area was up and coming. It's in Jacksonville, Florida. Obviously, the whole area in general is up and coming. And I was like, you know what? The basis is right. I bought it for $54,000 a door, and my DMs blew up. What'd you buy it for? What'd you buy it for? We're all looking for $54K a door. They're like, you're stupid. It's 34, like 30. I'm like, no one's No, you can edit that out, sorry. No one is selling this for $34K a door. Like you're gonna have to pay 54 if you want it, right? So we signed full recourse debt for it. I signed my Lifeboy. I'm also not afraid to do recourse debt. We just did a whole nother one. I signed 3 new assets with recourse debt. Recourse debt 54, and was it 14 months later, we sold it for $110,000 a door.
Wow.
4x equity multiple to our investors.
Wow.
So doing things that other people are unwilling to do, if you truly believe and know what you're doing, is the key to success, in my opinion.
I like that. And it's not like what I like is that you're very confident in what you're doing, right? It's not like you just got lucky. You knew what you were doing. So you were confident in what you were doing. So that's why you were like, dude, it's not like I'm gambling. I love it, man.
And recourse debt on it, I assure you, I'm not gambling.
Dude, what are some, outside of real estate and family office and business, what are some of your favorite hobbies?
I love boating. Enjoy boating. It's a terribly expensive habit. Don't get a boat. Best day when you get a boat is when you buy it, when you sell it. I do agree. But it's a very fun hobby. I have kids. I'm on the road 3-4 days a week. So we have so many assets in this lifestyle I live. It's like when I'm home on the weekends, like I just love spending time with the kids. So popping off, we're in Florida, so it's popping off Disney World, popping off to the beach, going to Great Wolf Lodge. It's, hey, when I'm here, it's that key quality time with the fam and just doing things that other people aren't doing on the weekend. Like they're just sitting around, like hanging out. I'm like, let's go do something. Let's find the activity. Let's find the event. My daughter loves like EDM or dance music. So like she's 7. I'm taking her to a festival upcoming, not in Miami or anything, but like in Orlando. And we're going to a day part. We're going from like noon to 4. So it's doing fun things, fun activities that like not everybody else is doing with their kids. So trying to step up as a dad the best I can.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. There's a lot of people that get caught up in doing business and forget a lot of family part. They forget about the game. They become pretty good at the money game, but then they forget the other games that are there to play. Do you have a morning routine or a productivity hack that you stick by?
So I'm not one of the guys that has Brian Wagner's, right? From
Yeah.
Elevate.
Yeah.
So Brian, I can't do Brian's up every day at 4:30, works out to 5:30. That is like he's got this routine. I'm like, I can't get up at 4:30 in the morning. Like it's not happening. But I do a lot more time blocking. I think that's one of the bigger things is when you kind of get to an executive level, it's not necessarily like the routine, but it's time blocking. Like my morning, if I wake up at 6 or 7, like it doesn't really make a big difference in my day. I'm saying hi to the kids in the morning, dinging some emails, and then hopping out to the gym and then to work. But from, I don't know, 8:30 to 7 every day is like my work schedule, right? But I'm time blocking and it's 30 minutes for this, 20 minutes for this, and it has to get done in that time frame. If not, I move on. And time blocking is very hard to do for most people, but when you get to an executive level, it's probably one of the most things that separates you from anybody else. Like I'm not gonna list the 10 other like Jeff Bezos of the world or Elon Musk that do it, but time blocking is huge because it holds you accountable to get things done. So if you can hit a time block when you get to an executive level, like when you're a young entrepreneur, it's too hard to time block because you're all over the place. But when you kind of get to more of an executive level, like you got to learn how to time block.
Yeah. I think I feel more on like the former I'm like running around with a hair cut off. I'm glad to see there's a light at the end of the tunnel. What's your end goal with business? Like, what do you see yourself at 15, 20 years from now?
And that's the hard thing. Like, I could retire today if I wanted to, but I'm 37. I'd be bored out of my mind next week if I retire. Like, I enjoy the scale we're getting to, and the kind of the fun thought process was, hey, like, I'd love to build this awesome and amazing company, as well as like other companies in the future as we build our team and things like that. And if my kids want to, they can come. Like, I'm not a huge believer in college school, right? Like, I was terrible in school. But like, I'd rather have my kids the ability to come in at like age 11, 12 and start like in filing and core things like that. And then as they start going through the teenage years, learning so much about just business in general, whether it's sales, accounting, HR, whatever it may be, asset management. Like, hey, when they're 16, they can go be a leasing agent. They can go be a porter or HVAC guy for the summer and learn quality stuff. It's stuff you're going to use the rest of your life anyways. It doesn't have to be real estate. It could be on the trash side. It could be another company we start. But I thought it'd be fun to have these companies so the kids could learn a wide variety of tasks they're not going to learn anywhere else. It wouldn't have the opportunity to learn if I didn't do it for them in terms of that.
Yeah, I love it, man. I like that. If we're also debating with our son whether to have him in school or just we're leaning more towards homeschooling and just doing things different way. If you were to lose everything and start from scratch, no money, no contacts, only the knowledge that you have today, how would you get back to where you are today the fastest?
The fastest. The keyword is the fastest way, because you can do it right away. So you can do it the fastest. Raise money for real. Raise money. Bring more to the table than just raising money. But if you can raise money, you can raise money for anything, because then you have your sales skills, you have your relationship skills. And then once you can raise money, it allows you to go do everything else. So one of the biggest challenges for a lot of syndicators or sponsors is they're great operators, but cool, I'm a great operator too. But can you raise the money required to operate that asset, right? And it's not raising 200 grand here, 500 grand there. It's like getting a skill set to actually raise $5-10 million. Because we're not making, as a sponsor syndicator, like, the reason I don't do 50 unit deals, I don't make any money. And it's the same time involvement as running a 300 unit asset. It doesn't make sense for me to go have 550 unit deals or 500 unit deals. Like, we barely look at 100 unit deals anymore as is. Coming and learning how to raise money for real estate, probably not doing it for my own deals instantaneously because I have nothing. So I don't have the net worth. I don't have liquidity. I could be a GP partner by raising real estate and helping with due diligence, the site tours, checking the asset, boots on the ground, all that kind of stuff. But raising equity is going to make me the most money because you can make a ton of money doing so. And then from there, that allows me to scale. Now I got net worth and I can build that background again. I'm now on 4 or 5 deals. The more deals I raise on, the more deals can go full cycle. And I think that's the quickest way to do it, in my opinion. You can win the lottery, but lots of scratch offs.
Hey, Ian, we're reaching the end of the podcast, dude. It's been awesome having you on. I think the listeners will get a lot of value from everything that you brought on. How can people find more about you?
Real simple. I make terrible TikToks and Instagram videos. You can feel free to watch there. It's just Djuric Family Office on all social medias, or our website, djuricfamilyoffice.com.
Cool. Awesome. And I'm going to add those links to the show notes so that people can access those and get in touch with you. Hopefully, don't bother Ian only unless you got something of value to bring him. Ian, it was awesome having you, man.
I appreciate you having me on the show, man. It's great to know you.
If you want to never miss another one of your kids' practice games, spend more time with your family, or simply do more of what you really like to do aside from flying, grab my book where I explain in detail everything you need to know to make this a reality. Go to bernhardcapital.net/ebook and download my book. It's completely free and I hope you like it.